Hello everyone and welcome to the Lunch Hour Sports Podcast. Here with your hosts, Jacob Smedley,
Justin Rehammer,
Peter Amarante,
and Nathan Romanot.
With today's special guest,
Joey Rinaldi.
Today's topics include a football episode. We've got the mock draft coming with the NFL 2021 draft on the horizon and the Super League? Nate will break it down for us. The destruction of the newest league facing the European Soccer League. Now here's Justin. Justin first. Justin, take it away. We're going to get into some mock drafts.
Thank you, Jacob. And yeah, it's weird to be coming first, but here we are. Hey, glad that Sam guy is in here, though. Let me tell you, it's gonna be a good episode.
He's got a good replacement.
I won't fall asleep. For the first 20 minutes because he's not here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good lot of fun here. We all brought mock drafts, our own mock drafts. We did the top 10, and then we highlighted a team of our choice. So I guess let's just dive in, boys. All right, we're gonna start with the number 1 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars select. I'm gonna say it. I think everybody's gonna say it. No-brainer here. QB, Trevor Lawrence from Clemson. I mean, let's be real. When you got the pick, he's right there. You take him. It's that simple. I mean, do we need to discuss this any further?
Yeah, no.
No, not really.
Not really.
Easiest pick in this draft.
Yeah.
Can't mess it up.
Easily.
Yeah, I mean, I saw with it the story that for the wedding, like Jaguars fans donated money for wedding gifts for him, and then he donated the money back, to the Jacksonville chair. It's meant to be. The marriage is meant to be right there.
He's embracing it. He knows he's going to be their guy.
He's getting ready. He's getting on the fans' good side already.
I do believe you got to give a credit where credit's due, though, with Justin Fields beating him in the college playoffs. So it's interesting where he ends up.
Good point.
Maybe we'll mention him at some point in the future. Yeah, we'll move on, though, to pick number 2. A little tougher, but I'm sure we're all on the same page here as well. With the number 2 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Jets will select QB Zach Wilson, I say. BYU. They traded away Sam Darnold. They need a new guy. He's the next best thing. Take him.
I'm kind of torn between him and Justin Fields, to be honest, because Justin Fields has proven himself to be an extremely good quarterback with both his rushing and his cannon of an arm. Yes, Zach Wilson is very good, but I don't know a firm pick. I don't have a firm pick for you, but I think that'll be a race between those two quarterbacks for the Jets pick.
I'm gonna have to disagree with Peter. I think Justin Fields has not played on a level as some of the other quarterbacks like Mac Jones or Trey Lance even. So I think that's why he probably won't be going as high as Zach Wilson, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my whole thing here with Justin Fields, there's no doubt that, he's a good quarterback. Like Joe said, he beat Clemson in the college football playoff semifinal. But what a lot of pro experts say, a lot of NFL scouts are saying, his progressions. He doesn't get well through his progressions. And, it's a problem a lot of teams have with him at the moment, I feel. He struggles to read the defense and get through his progressions. You saw that in the Big Ten championship game against Northwestern, where he had a very poor game. Ohio State relied on the running game to win that. And, Zach Wilson, everything coming out about this guy has just been positive, ever since people have been talking about the draft. So I personally feel like at this point, it's a no-brainer for the Jets to take Zach Wilson. I feel like they know what they want to do after trading Sam Darnold away, and I feel like that's going to be to draft Zach Wilson.
Yeah, and I think both of these two guys are they're right near each other in terms of skill level and talent. Both, again, I think are top three picks. But I think you look at Zach Wilson, on the other hand, when Nate mentioned Justin Fields struggling in the Big Ten championship game, I'm still worried with Zach Wilson in terms of how is his adjustment going to be to the NFL coming from BYU. There's the questions about the competition that he plays compared to Justin Fields, while Fields, as Nate mentioned, has some issues there or just some concerns moving forward. I think the concern for Fields, again, is that next step where it's Big Ten football. As a bunch of you guys know, going to Penn is the top of the cream of the crop, and Zach Wilson, just hasn't faced that yet.
Yeah, I mean, I hear the skepticism, and I'm not sure if I'm loving that because, yeah, some guys, they need more to prove themselves. Other guys, they just need to get out there and do it. I mean, there's been plenty of examples of people who were supposed to be great and just weren't, and people who were supposed to be terrible but were amazing. So it boils down to any guy. So that's why for my number 3 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the San Francisco Niners are selecting QB Justin Fields out of Ohio State. I think that they need a great backup for Jimmy Garoppolo, who's injury prone. He got taken out last season due to that injury and really set his team on the wrong path, and they couldn't recover quite, after what happened. So I think that if they can get a guy like Justin Fields, they can put him behind Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe put him in there if they need him to, but just to have him sit there for a little bit, just to learn the game a little more. I think that that's what needs to be done here.
In my mock draft, I actually have Mac Jones going to San Fran. I think Jones, he fits the offense a lot better than Justin Fields would. I know Alabama quarterbacks don't typically do well because, they always have good wide receivers. Mac Jones is used to the offense in Alabama, and it's very similar to San Francisco, so I believe that is why they will select Mac Jones 3rd overall.
Yeah, I have to agree with Joe about Mac Jones. I kind of feel like Justin Fields isn't going to go with the 49ers.
Well, I'll make this a bit more interesting. I'm going to throw my hat into the ring. With the number 3 pick, the 49ers will take Trey Lance out of North Dakota State.
Nice.
Okay.
A bit of a surprise here.
Bold early.
It's a bold
I like
statement.
bold. I like
yes.
statement.
Now, Justin, I disagree with you. I don't see Fields going 3 to San Fran. Joe, I do potentially see them taking Mac Jones, like you said, very similar offensive schemes between Alabama and San Fran. But I like the way Trey Lance would fit. He's, a very athletic quarterback. I think he could be molded by, Kyle Shanahan very well. He could sit behind Garoppolo, maybe for a year if they need. And I just, I like this. I like this as maybe a little bit of a surprise to some people. But I think that they're seriously considering Trey Lance at the number 3 spot. And I think that he would be a good fit in that offense. So, I'm going Trey Lance.
Gentlemen, Peter, Nate, Joey, that is where you are wrong. Justin Justin got it right. Justin Fields is going to the Bay Area. I think you think maybe the system is not the fit for Justin Fields. I say the contrary. He has the wheels to move as well, and Kyle Shanahan can develop those kind of imperfections in a way that Nate mentioned when talking about Justin Fields. Just a few mechanics. Kyle Shanahan has been proven to help out quarterbacks in that regard, similar to how Nate mentioned as well with Trey Lance. I think that Justin Fields is going to fit nicely. I think that's what the offense needs. They need a quarterback that can make plays, and I think Justin Fields will be able to do that to the best of what San Francisco needs.
They need that guy, and I think that Fields will be that guy right with you, Jacob. But we'll move on then to the number 4 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. The Atlanta Falcons are going to select tight end Kyle Pitts from Florida. Listen, the Falcons, they need a lot. They need more playmakers. They need a better defense. They need a better quarterback, but they got to start somewhere, right?
I think the Falcons need to just hit the reset button.
Exactly. And what better way than to find a guy that can block and catch at the same time? You're going to get a great tight end here, Kyle Pitts. He's done some great things, and I think he'll be a good, solid option for Matty Ice in the future.
I think Matty Ice's time is up. That is why I think they're going to be drafting a quarterback if they don't trade away their pick. I could potentially see them trading their pick, but for the 4th pick, if they keep it, I think they draft a quarterback. I see them as this was a tough pick. I'm probably going to go with Justin Fields here for Atlanta. It was a tough one between him and Trey Lance for me, but I think if Atlanta's going to draft something at number 4, I think they're going to have to draft a quarterback. Matty Ice is just not doing it. Can't have choke artists anymore.
I can see where you're coming from with that, Joe, with how Matt Ryan is kind of sloping out of his career in the NFL. I mean, he is getting older, and, he has choked way more than not. But, I don't know, do you start with the quarterback for remolding your team, or do you start with the other offensive weapons, like a good tight end, as in Kyle Pitts? My question to you is, where do you start?
I think you definitely start at the quarterback position because I mean you still have Julio Jones, you still have Calvin Ridley and they have a I forget what their tight end's name is, but they already have a pretty decent tight end. With that, I just think they need to finish out that quarterback. That they just need to reinstate that quarterback position. I mean, I don't think he'll start right away, but I think that's one thing that they need.
If I may interject real quick before you go, Nate, I just want to say I think, Peter, you're asking the wrong question. It's not where do you start, it's how do you start. Do you start by rebuilding the core that's around this guy, or do you start with a whole new system? So I think that you have Matt Ryan for at least a little bit longer. You might as well build up what's around him, and then when it's his time to go, you pick somebody else to put him in there.
Yeah, Justin, I am on board with you here. At number 4, I do have Kyle Pitts going to the Atlanta Falcons. And as Joe said, I do think this is a pick that is could potentially be traded, but since we're not projecting trades, I'm not going to go with that. And I just feel at number 4, Kyle Pitts, best tight end in the draft, clearly. He's probably the best, receiving option available in the draft, in my opinion. He could potentially be molded into, even a receiver with his, physical capabilities and his skill set. A quarterback, they have Matt Ryan. Yes, he will need to go, and he needs to go in the future. But, with 3 teams ahead of them that will take a quarterback, I feel like they should maybe hold off on that, build up these weapons, get a young guy like Kyle Pitts, and then look maybe a couple years or a year or 2 in the draft to get a quarterback, or even trade for a quarterback. Who knows?
Man, I'm siding with the guy who seems to be at a disadvantage with each of these picks in terms of which side I'm on. I'm with Joey here. I mean, you look at the Falcons, the tight end, Hayden Hurst, who you mentioned, Joey. He's the guy that's leading the way right now. I think you go with the quarterback. You build the offense around the quarterback. Matt Ryan, he's getting up there in years. Mac Jones, Alabama. Where's Alabama? Right there. Right there with Atlanta. I think it's a dream fit. You've got him sitting a year. Maybe he's not ready yet. Sits a year or 2. If that's the way to keep Matt Ryan in as the starting role, and then you can have him learn. He may be a choke artist, of course, as we've mentioned, but still, he's a veteran quarterback that's had success in this league. He can learn a year or 2 underneath of him, and then take the reins for the team.
We'll go on then to the 5th pick of the 2021 overall draft. The Cincinnati Bengals select, I think we all have the same here, offensive lineman Penei Sewell. He is very good from Oregon. He's just one of the best in the draft. He's great with his, pass blocking, the run blocking. He's very good in as well. So I think that personally for the Cincinnati Bengals, who had an injury at the quarterback position last season with Joe Burrow, they're going to want to protect that guy. So if they get a solid option, I think that they can go farther than what they were doing last season.
Yeah, I personally agree with Justin here. This pick makes the most sense. Penei Sewell from Oregon. Great offensive lineman. I believe he's the best in this draft, which is quite deep in offensive linemen, according to many experts, and it's easy to see. Penei Sewell, watched him at Oregon, did a great job protecting Justin Herbert in the past, who's obviously now on the Chargers and had a great rookie year. So, like you said, Joe Burrow, their number 1 overall pick from a year ago, got injured, suffered a terrible injury in his rookie season, really derailed it, and you need to start rebuilding or helping him recover from that by shoring up that offensive line and taking Sewell. It just makes the most sense. Protect your franchise quarterback. They could take a receiver, but I just feel like with, they have young guys like T. Higgins on the roster. I feel like they're okay at that position. Take Penei Sewell. Makes the most sense.
Yeah, bottom line, they need protection. When they're playing teams like the Steelers and the Ravens, who are known for their defenses, you need someone to be able to block TJ Watt, people like him. So Yeah, that's definitely a great pick for them. I think it'll probably work out well with Cincinnati and Joe Burrow.
You know what? I'm going to go because my draft seems a bit, off kilter so far, at least noticing from some of your other predictions. Based on I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts here. If he falls, of course, he could be taken to the Falcons, as you guys mentioned. But in mine, if he falls to the Bengals, you take him. You add an offensive weapon to Joe Burrow, a tight end. Mahomes, Kelsey, that's immediately what I'm thinking. Joe Burrow, Kyle Pitts, the future in Cincinnati, mixing with T. Higgins, mixing with Tyler Boyd. Nate mentioned you got depth in the offensive lineman. You have some picks. You can maybe trade up late first round. I know we're not mentioning trades here, but there's some depth in the offensive lineman. If you have a weapon there, I think you go take it and you maybe sign an offensive lineman or work with some offensive linemen past the first round. But Sewell, great pick as well. But if Pitts is there, I'm taking him.
Yeah, I think if Pitts drops there, yeah, for sure you take him, but I don't know. I didn't think that he would. All right, and then to the 6th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins will select, bear with me here, wide receiver Jamar Chase. I think that with the combination of speed and route running ability, he's going to be a solid fit for that team that already has Will Fuller, already has Devontae Parker. They need that solid third guy to get them, into the end zone, and I think that Jamar Chase will be that guy. I think it's a great pick. He's, had he's been great in all of college at LSU, and I think that he will continue to be great in the NFL.
I gotta agree with you, Justin. I think Chase, if he is selected by the Dolphins, would be a great target for Tua because of his route running ability and getting in the end zone. So I think that would be a great matchup, Tua and Chase. So I would agree with that pick.
Well, 6th overall, I actually have Devontae Smith going to the Dolphins. Heisman winner going to the Dolphins. It means a lot winning the Heisman. I really do think that. There's a reason why he won it, and I think he deserves to go 6th overall to Miami.
And Joe, I will tell you right now, I agree. I agree with the pick. Devontae Smith out of Alabama, the Heisman winner from this past season. He put on a showcase. He performed terrifically at Alabama. And I feel like the reuniting him with the former Alabama quarterback in Tua, I feel like that's just, a perfect combination, two guys who have played with each other. I think, they know each other, they know their styles. I just feel like that's the perfect match. And don't get me wrong, I love Jamar Chase. I believe he's probably the better receiver. But for me, I feel like, Tua and Devontae Smith, there's chemistry there already. And I just feel like the combination of the two is perfect. I feel like it's just there. And Devontae Smith is a great receiver, He's not that far down, for me at least, from Jamar Chase. So I go to Devontae Smith.
Well, this is a queen sweep of the position, wide receiver. But Peter and Justin, I'm right on your boat. I'm going with Jamar Chase. I think, like Nate meant, they're on a very similar level, but I think the concerns of the size of Devontae Smith are going to come into play, or at least in my idea of what teams are going to be looking at, and that's why some teams, at least now I'm seeing a viewing Smith a bit lower than that kind of top 5, top 6 threshold, and that's why I think Jamar Chase going to the Dolphins, like Justin mentioned, adds another weapon to Tua Tagovailoa. Either one of them is going to be a big help to that offense. We already mentioned they added Will Fuller, I think, on the last episode of the podcast. They have Devontae Parker. You add a third good young wide receiver to that core, definitely going to help the young quarterback. Either option is great. I think they're going with Chase at 6.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Devontae Smith, he's great. And speaking of which, with the 7th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions will select wide receiver Devontae Smith out of Alabama. Listen, he reminds me a lot of Cole Beasley. He's fast, he's elusive, great route runner, and I think that he's going to be very good.
I'm going to have to disagree with Justin. Going 7 overall is Jamar Chase. Again, Miami taking Devontae Smith, I think easily Detroit will take Jamar Chase. With the exit of Kenny Golladay, They're going to need another big wide receiver, and I think that's their guy.
At number 7, I actually don't have a receiver going here. Interestingly, I wanted to shake it up a little bit. I have the Lions taking Rashawn Slater, an offensive lineman out of Northwestern, who I believe to be the second best offensive lineman in the draft. I just feel that, I'm not sure how serious they really are about Jared Goff, but at this moment in time, you have to believe he will be the starter next year. And if they really want to give this guy a go, you need to start with the basics. You need to protect him, give him protection, and that starts at the offensive line. So I feel that, if they're serious about giving Jared Goff a run and a fair shot, give him protection, give him time in the pocket, draft an O-lineman, take Rashawn Slater from Northwestern.
I can see where Nate's coming from with that because they did make a big trade with Jared Goff and Matt Stafford. And like Nate said, we don't know if Jared Goff is going to be the legitimate starter. But if he is, the Lions' offensive line isn't the best. And they haven't been doing a very good job protecting Matt Stafford while he was on the team. So I can see where Nate is coming from with his selection.
Man, we got 2 guys picking wide receiver. We got Nate going with a tackle. I'll go with the other side of the ball. I'm going Micah Parsons out of Penn State. The Lions need help everywhere. They stink. They need help on offense. They need help on defense. They need help on special teams. They need help everywhere. They need help at head coach for all I care at this point. Micah Parsons is the best linebacker in the draft by far. I think in the first round, I believe this guy is going to be the anchor on what the Lions can build defensively. They picked Jeff Okudah last year to anchor down that secondary. I think they continue to build on the defense. It's a bold pick, maybe like Trey Lance going top with Nate's pick earlier, but hey, I think that Micah Parsons, yes, there's questions, of course, with his last year of eligibility, not playing and such, but I think you build on that side of the ball if you're the Lions.
Anything can happen in the draft, and yes, you're right. The Lions need help absolutely everywhere, including coaching and all that crap, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. The draft is full of unknowns and questionables, so we'll see where it takes us.
Gotta be bold
sometimes.
I like being bold, and hey, I like the pick. I think it's very possible. But we'll move on to number 8. With the number 8 overall pick, the Carolina Panthers will select. I have tackle Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. Listen, another great pass blocker here. He's going to be great against the pass. They need somebody to protect Sam Darnold. That was one of his biggest problems back in the Jets. He just didn't have anybody that could protect him. He got sacked a lot. He got hit a lot more. And so I think that if they're going to build around him, I think that's where they need to start, and they need to start fast. They need to start now.
Let's just get one thing straight here, though. Carolina's offensive line is nowhere near as bad as the Jets' offensive line was.
Very true.
So,
yeah.
With that in mind, that's why I believe the Panthers will select Jalen Waddle to give another Alabama wide receiver to an already offense that's not terrible. They still need a few more parts, and I just think he's one of those parts that could really help out that offense, help Sam Darnold.
Yeah, with my pick at number 8, I do have the Panthers selecting Jamar Chase. Now, I haven't had him go yet in my mock draft, and, if he is still there, he is a no-brainer option to take, I feel. They have been steadily building up their defense in Carolina over the past couple drafts, and I feel like now that you have Sam Darnold, who's going to be your starting quarterback, who's going to be your guy, at least for this year, you need to help him. And, they could try and address that on the offensive line, but more realistically for me, I feel like giving him the weapons he needs is more important. They have Christian McCaffrey, arguably the best running back in the NFL. They have Robbie Anderson, another great wide receiver. And I feel like if Jamar Chase is there, and, they have to take him. One of the best receivers in this draft, and I feel like they will take him.
I was just going to say, I think that it's whatever the wide receivers are left there. Out of the kind of top 3, you look at Waddle, Chase, Smith. I have Waddle here for the Panthers, but it could be whichever 3 is left at that point. I think tackle could be there. They just, I think, offensively, to build, like Justin was mentioning, build around Sam Darnold, give him the most amount of weapons he's had in his career. Let's be completely honest here. Support in offensive line.
It's going to be like night and day for him. It's going to be night and day.
Exactly. I mean, I think that Matt Rule get his hands on him, can maybe get one of these good wide receivers. I have Jalen Waddle, but of course, any of them will be of help.
Yeah, I do like what I'm hearing there. I think that offense is definitely the way to go. I mean, defense is a little bold, but we'll see what happens. Because I got to move on then to the number 9 overall pick in 2021 NFL Draft. With this pick, the Denver Broncos will select Micah Parsons out of Penn State. I think they got their moves on offense already. I think that they work with what they got there a little longer. I think they should shift to the defense and really look at a run stopper, because they were not very great against the runs, letting up 7.2 yards per carry against the run last season. So I think
pulling out the stats there, Justin.
I don't hold
analytics here, yeah.
So I think that's what they'll do. They're going to need to plug up those holes, and I think Micah Parsons is going to help a great deal in plugging up those holes.
I would agree with Justin. Denver should start building up on their defense. This will be Drew Lock's second season, and he has the opportunity to grow with the offense. And I think that if you start building up a defense, like Justin said, you can have more of an all-around team. You can have more of a formed team all around rather than having one side of the ball be outweighing the other. So I would agree with that.
I'm gonna also agree with you guys. I think Micah Parsons will go to the Denver Broncos. Old man Miller can't do it by himself anymore. Let's be honest. He's probably not going to be there for much longer. They really need to start helping out this defense. I mean, if you look at the other side of the ball on the offense, you got a very young wide receiver core still, so there's no need there. You have Noah Fant at tight end. I think you just stick with Drew Lock for maybe a season or two. I think he can hold off for a little bit longer. He's not worse. He's not the worst quarterback. I mean, he's not great, but just hold on a little bit longer. Help out that defense. That defense needs so much help.
Quarterback.
No means.
No.
I already said Micah Parsons, and I mean, they would be the Penn State Broncos at that point with all of the Penn State grads, and no wonder Nate's the fan of that team. But you know what? I'll go because, I haven't set an offensive line yet. Either Sewell or Slater, I think whichever one is at that point. Mine, of course, are different than all of yours at this point, but which I think an offensive lineman. You mentioned the wide receivers. You mentioned Noah Fant as well. What you didn't mention is the offensive line, and I think if, depending on what they view with Drew Lock, if they wanted to look on the defense, you get Parsons. If not, Drew Lock is maybe that quarterback that you want to keep around for the next few years, I would view protecting him, and if there's an offensive lineman, Sewell, Slater, that is still there, I would take him.
With the 9th overall pick, my Denver Broncos, I'm going to agree with most of the panel here, will select linebacker Micah Parsons out of Penn State. I love this pick. Micah Parsons, the best linebacker in the draft class this year for me. There have been some questions, teams maybe questioning his character after some reports, but I truly believe talent-wise, you can't get better than Micah Parsons at the linebacker position. And, he is definitely something that Broncos need. Von Miller, he needs help. He needs help on the defense. And, I'm not so sure he's going to be there much longer, in all honesty. So I feel like Micah Parsons would be a great, not necessarily a replacement, but a great guy for the future of the team to lead that defense after Von Miller moves on. But like Jake said, maybe an offensive lineman for the Broncos. If it's there, I could see it. Drew Lock, at this point in time, I don't see him as a future quarterback of the franchise. But, I don't see the Broncos taking a quarterback at 9. Will they make a move? Maybe. If they really want a guy, they could trade up. But personally, I don't think that'll happen. I don't think they're going to take, the 5th quarterback remaining in the draft, in my opinion. I think that, they will go Micah Parsons at the linebacker position.
I think you're right with the quarterback statement because I think they want to let Drew Lock grow a little more, I think, I mean, he's not a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's like some quarterback that has amazing Patrick Mahomes potential. but it's his second year. You got to let these new quarterbacks grow with their teams, and especially last year with how hard things were with quarterbacks and the pandemic and all that crap. I think that they will select other side of the ball to help the veteran defense and see what Drew Lock can do. And then maybe after this year, if they're like, he's still not cutting it, either trade or pick a new one up in the draft next year.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say, like, he doesn't, he could turn it around this year. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, I don't know, but I still think, Micah Parsons on defense.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But then the 10th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys. This pick was interesting because there were so many possibilities. Do they trade up? Do they trade back? They could fill so many holes, but in the end, I decided to go with Patrick Surtain II, the quarterback out of Alabama. I think he's got a lot of speed. He's going to be able to stick with that man-to-man coverage very well, and I truly believe that that's a position that they need to cover more. So I think that, starting with that defense, getting Dak on the other side, set and ready to go for the next 4 years, I think that's going to be good for them.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Justin here. I think they take Patrick Surtain II. Cowboys defense, they're awful. I'm sorry. They are just
It's
bad. When you can't even defend against the Eagles offense, no offense, guys, but
Yeah.
that's awful.
He got him.
That's
He
awful.
got him.
I mean,
When
you're
you're
not
relying-
wrong.
when
You're
you're-
not wrong, though.
When
you're not wrong.
when as the defense, when you're relying on them, like for Carson Wentz, to just throw his awful passes, like it's awful. They're just not good. Patrick Surtain would be a great helper for them.
Well, to go away from the Cowboys banter here, I will agree with Patrick Surtain. The linebacking crew is the one calling card because you have Jalen Smith, Van Der Esch. That's it. As you guys have touched on, they need to build the secondary, especially with the addition of Kenny Golladay in the division. Justin's guy Terry McLaurin is still wrecking havoc. He had a great year against these Cowboys last year. Yeah, this is a no-brainer pick for me. They're gonna have the guy I think go right to him at number 10. Hate gonna be facing him as an Eagles fan, but I think this is a perfect fit for a Cowboys team who's set offensively. They need to fix the defense to take their team to the next level.
Yep, clean sweep here. I agree with pretty much everybody. They need to address the secondary on the defensive side. I went back and forth kind of a little bit between Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. But, both are great options, but I believe Patrick Surtain the best cornerback in this draft, and I do believe that he is a potential, long-term solution to a secondary problem. He's a great start, at least. He could be a great player in this league, potential to be a Pro Bowler in the future. I like the pick. I mean, of course, unfortunately, it'd be Dallas he'd be going to, but for that team, that is what they need at the moment, so Patrick Surtain.
All right, now time for our highlighted teams. This is going to be interesting. Each of us is doing a different team. We'll see how it goes. Of course, since I'm first, we all know where I'm going. I'm jumping up to pick number 30, the Buffalo Bills. With the 30th overall pick, the Bills are going to select, in my opinion, edge rusher Jalen Phillips from Miami. The Bills, they're building a championship team up there, but to get over that last hurdle, I think they're going to need to put pressure on the quarterback. And with that comes Jalen Phillips, who is great on the edge, and I think that he will really help push this team over that last hurdle.
That's interesting, Justin. That's exactly who I had the Bills taking in my mock draft going all the way through. Outside of Ed Oliver, you add another defensive tackle in there. They just build defensive tackles up there, defensive ends, defensive linemen very well up in Buffalo. He can succeed. I'm interested as well. I know Terrence Marshall, wide receiver out of LSU. I know he's that kind of middle round, late round pick. If he falls to the Bills, adding another weapon, maybe a young wide receiver to Josh Allen's arsenal, I don't think would be a bad idea, but I agree with the Phillips pick as well.
I definitely can't disagree with that pick. The Bills already have a deadly defense, and also looking at the offensive side, they don't really need any help. They have a good offensive line, they have a good quarterback, they have good wide receivers. I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, I agree. Good pick. Their defense, I feel like maybe took a small step backwards this past season compared to the season before. The offense is there. Josh Allen, you've got the weapons now on offense. I feel like adding defense is what they need, and an edge rusher is perfect. So, yeah, I like the pick.
All right, I'll take the next team here outside of the top 10. I'm looking at a team we've mentioned before with the J.J. Watt news. I'm going to go number 16. The Cardinals select Christian Barmore out of Alabama, the interior defensive lineman, to further stack up that defensive line in Arizona. They signed J.J. Watt. They have, I think Chandler Jones is still there if I'm not mistaken. You add this youngster who, from what I'm hearing, is a beast in the trenches. That is going to be a dangerous defensive front in Arizona if he goes there. And yeah, they are a team on the rise with a good offense. They're going to build up the defense. That's the team I'm looking at in the middle of the first round.
Say what you want about the whole J.J. Watt trade, which I won't get too much into, but the Cardinals are making big moves, and I agree with your pick, Jake, and I also agree with the fact that the Cardinals' defense is a scary thing to face now with J.J. Watt, and if they pick up who you said, I think it's going to be even more of a nightmare. It's going to be even more of a nightmare, and I think that they're working both sides of the ball, like every team should be. They're building up both sides pretty evenly, and the Cardinals are a force to be reckoned with, or starting to be at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think that building up the defense is the right thing to do. The offense, they have that great chemistry. Yeah, I hate to say it, but DeAndre Hopkins, one of the greatest receivers in the NFL. Kyler Murray, he's doing great over there, passing and running the ball. I think that offense, you don't really need to address it in the draft. That's more of a free agency task. But the defense, that's where you need to kind of look to get them over that 8-8 hump, that they needed to get over. And I think that it's a great pickup for them. I do agree with that pick.
Yeah, I do like that pick. Defense, address it. I like strengthening that defensive line even more with Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. Love the pick. I think their offense is in a good spot. I think Kyler Murray will have a good year this year with D-Hop. They could set up that defense and potentially make a run in the playoffs here in the future, next couple of years. You never know, so I like the pick.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not too familiar with their offensive line situation, but that's the only other thing maybe I could see them drafting, but I think defensive lineman is the way to go. I agree.
I'm putting in my Cardinals bandwagon form for next season, gentlemen. Let's go.
Yeah, sick of rooting for those Eagles.
Speaking of those Eagles, what are you...
Speaking of the Eagles need a lot of work. And when I say that, I mean fire the general manager and start over. Completely start over. Like, please, just fire him. His sunglass-looking face is not good for Philadelphia anymore. Well, I'm going to say the Eagles work on the defensive side of the ball. I say Patrick Surtain. And I say this because they need a cornerback. They have a pretty good defensive line. Decent, I guess, sort of. They need to work the secondaries. They cannot keep letting teams throw mid-range to long-range passes on this defense. And the defense is like, their heads are in the cloud. They don't know where to cover. They don't know who to be on. It's just all over the place. So that's why I say Patrick Surtain for the Eagles pick. But again, the Eagles could use all the help they can get. So pretty much anybody who's willing to be on a really crappy team will take.
Oh, yeah. They have that choice, Peter, of course. They have that choice.
I say you work the defense. I say Patrick Surtain at second would be my selection.
Listen, I like what you're saying, but I don't think he's going to be there. That's just what
I agree with Justin. I do agree that the Eagles suck. So
they do. And that's coming from an Eagles fan. It's terrible.
I think they'll take Pitts. I think Pitts will fall to number 12.
Wow, you think?
I do think
Pitts falling to 12.
I think he'll fall to 12.
Past 5. I don't think Pitts is getting past 5.
Well, like I said, the Eagles could take all the help they can get. So
again, I honestly think the Patriots will trade up for number 4. That's why I think he'll fall, because I don't think any of these other teams need. And honestly, you could make Pitts a wide receiver if need be. He has the potential to be a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So if they needed to move him, they could.
Yeah, because just to point out, Joe, your point, the Eagles already have, I believe, 2 tight ends on their roster currently in Goddard and Ertz, who I'm not sure what they're going to do with, but you never know. So, Peter, I like the idea of going cornerback. I don't know if Surtain will be there. I personally don't have him being there. But the other guy I mentioned, if J.C. Horn, another cornerback out of the SEC, South Carolina, if he's there, I think that'd be a good pick. Or if Surtain falls and Horn goes before him, Surtain's a great pick, I think, to help that Eagles defense.
Great minds think alike. That's exactly what I was thinking, Nate. If JC, wide receiver or corner, I think those are the two picks here.
Yeah.
If they keep their spot, I think if the last of the three, as we've mentioned previously, Smith, Waddle, or Chase, I'm guessing Chase and maybe Smith will be out of the Waddle, whichever the third one that hasn't been drafted yet is there, and then J.C. Horn, who, as we mentioned, I think Surtain is going to the Cowboys. It's Horn or that wide receiver option, and I'm going with Devonta Smith here, or whichever three. That's my personal opinion, but whoever falls, I think you get another weapon. They failed. They've swung and missed at wide receivers year after year.
DK Metcalf.
I don't know if they and Justin Jefferson and all. You could go down the line.
You
the
could
past
go the
5
whole-
years.
yeah,
It's but I think you've got to try again Smith or maybe another Alabama wide receiver. Pair him with the best Alabama quarterback in the National Football League, Jalen Hurts. That's, of course, a joke, but I think that the last wide receiver would be the best option there.
I think a wide receiver would also be a good option if they don't draft a cornerback because, Travis Fulgham, he's pretty good. He's shown up at a couple of the Eagles games, and Jalen Reagor showing what he's worth. We have to remember, though, this is the Eagles. They waste their draft picks on useless people.
I was gonna say, knowing
They
them,
seriously-
they're probably gonna draft like another.
They're
quarterback
gonna draft like a kicker or something stupid like that. And it's the
Made
Eagles.
up
That's
for
what they
Justin
do.
Fields.
Yes, they throw their draft pick every single year. And that's why I say kick the stupid general manager out and hit the reset button. But, I'm hoping for a cornerback or a wide receiver at least.
Well, with the next team, I obviously have the Pittsburgh Steelers. As much as I would love for them to get a quarterback, but that I know that's just not going to happen anytime soon. But looking at the Steelers, with the exit of Bud Dupree, a very good edge rusher, and James Conner, our running back, I think it's very obvious that we select one of those two positions. Me, personally, I believe we will be selecting a running back, and I think we'll be selecting Najee Harris. A great running back.
Ooh.
I think a lot of teams ahead of the Steelers are not in need of a running back, and they have more problems that they need to solve. So that's why I believe Najee Harris will fall to the 24th overall pick.
I like it.
I could agree with that. Either filling the running back position or wherever Dupree left off. I think those are two solid options for the Steelers. I think you're also right with the quarterback statement. They're not drafting a quarterback.
There's no way they're going to draft a quarterback anytime soon. They're probably going to have to stick with Hoskins, which pains me because he sucks. Makes me depressed, but I'll live with it.
I do like the running back pick. I like the running back pick because, last season they had one of the worst rushing attacks in the league. Part of that was due to the line, but also James Conner just couldn't get anything going. So I think that adding a guy like Harris is going to really boost this offense.
And there's also one other thing I could see them drafting, maybe a center, because they obviously...
That was a little rough at the end of the season.
Yeah, that was rough. I don't even want to.
Yeah,
I don't even want to mention him. I don't even want to mention him.
Pouncy.
Yeah, I
mention
don't
him,
even want to say his name. I used to respect him.
Yeah, that's the only other position I can.
I
see the
used to have
Steelers
respect
would
for
take.
you.
So
I just don't understand how you go.
I
How
like
you
the
go to
pick.
the. I just can't understand how you go, like 4 years, like Pro Bowl, and then do that in the playoffs. It's awful.
Well, to get away from that topic, I'll go with the other side. You mentioned running back. How about some defensive end? I thought you were gonna say this. Jason Owe out of Penn State going to the Steel City defensive end. I think that's a match made in heaven for Joe. At least you got Owe taking Bud Dupree's spot.
But can you pass over one of the best running backs in the draft?
Yeah, that's a discussion. But you said that the defensive end need. I'm
That's
just
true.
looking at
That's
it from
true. I
what
just
you
think-
mentioned.
But looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers as a whole, they have a good defense. Whoever they put there, they still have one of the best defenses in the NFL, in my opinion. Definitely top 5.
Yeah, Joe, the only other thing I'll say is, running back is generally an easier position to fill in the draft. They generally don't go very high unless it's like a Saquon Barkley type of running back. I like the pick at running back because they need it, obviously. But I could see them potentially going center as well. They need it. They don't have it. And if you're sticking with Big Ben for this season, you really need to give him, protection and some decent offensive linemen. So I could see that, but I like the running back pick. Then I'll go, I guess, my team I decided to focus on, not too far outside the top 10. I'm going with the New York Giants. And at the 11th overall pick in the draft, the Giants, I believe, will select a wide receiver. I think they're going to take Jalen Waddle out of Alabama. I think he'll be there, and I think they'll take him, You're sticking with Daniel Jones at quarterback. Presumably, Saquon is going to be back, ready for the season at running back. And, you just picked up Kenny Galladay. Get another, receiver to go alongside him. I say take Jalen Waddle. Make sure you have your weapons for Daniel Jones. I know another position a lot of people might consider would be an offensive lineman. But again, this is a very deep draft class in O-linemen. So I feel like if they really feel they need, an offensive lineman, they could trade up or just select in the second round. But I don't think they can pass up another talent like Jalen Waddle at receiver. So that is why I do believe they will take Jalen Waddle with the 11th overall pick.
I agree with the wide receiver pick, but I also agree with the statement that Daniel Jones needs a little more protection on the O-line. Whatever they decide to do, I think that they would go for a receiver primarily, like you said. But if, for whatever reason, Waddle's not there at that time, I'd say they would go for an O-line.
I honestly think they'll go on the other side of the ball. I don't know exactly who they pick on defense, but I think defense is a little bit more of a priority just because they don't have much on defense. Especially, they have a good front, but secondary, I think they need a lot of help. They have Julian Peppers. I think he could be very good, but I still think they need help in the secondary. And they already did get Kenny Galladay in the wide receiving core. Drafting another wide receiver, I kind of find that unlikely. I can maybe see an offensive lineman too, in my opinion.
I always say it. I like building up one side, and I like the pick for Waddle. I think that there's a very good chance that drops to there, and I think there's a very good chance they get him. I like what that could do there. I think that could be a great, matchup, because he's pretty good. So I think that I'd like to see what happens.
That would be a fantastic pick, and I would hate it because you looked at the Eagles. They're picking behind 2 division rivals. When has that ever been a good idea? I know kind of getting off topic.
You traded down for it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was just going to mention. But I think it's a great pick for the Giants. You're looking at Galladay. Slayton's there as well. You can maybe move him to the slot and have Waddle maybe work the outside, whichever is better for him. Me, of course, being a hopeful Eagles fan, of course, I had them taking Slate. I just saying, I just looking at the Giants here, I think Rashawn Slater could fall to that 11th spot, and I think it would be perfect, or at least in my draft, he's fallen to that spot at a Northwestern, a perfect guy to take up one of those sides, maybe a blind side of that line and help out Daniel Jones that way. So, but yeah, I think wide receiver would be a great pick as well. That should wrap things up for the mock draft. All of us giving our 2 cents, or what we think is our 2 cents for this coming Thursday's NFL draft. Tune in to see if any of us are right on our picks. Now we've got some more football to conclude the episode. There was an announcement coming out I think it's this past week now, of this Super League. Nate, what is this madness going on across the pond?
Yeah, Jake. So on the other side of the football world, we had the announcement of a European Super League, which was leaked and then officially confirmed by some of the leaders of this, mainly Florentino Perez, the president of Real Madrid. Basically, the idea was to have 12 of the biggest clubs in Europe, the main 6 from England being Arsenal, Spurs, Man City, Man United, Liverpool, and Chelsea. Then, 3 from Italy, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juventus, and then 3 from Spain. You'd have Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Atletico Madrid. And basically, this would have been a breakaway from the traditional UEFA Champions League, which has been run now for quite some time. and that's, currently set up in a group stage format. This European Super League would have been, they wanted 15 founding members. They only had 12 come out and announce it at the time, and it would have been open to 20, so they would have had 5 additional spots for other teams to move in and out, and then it basically would have been league play, 10 and 10 on each side, and the best at the top, I think it was the best 4 on each, would move on to quarterfinals and play each other out in that style. The problem with this is it's basically taking away competition from smaller teams, smaller clubs, like Leicester City, who, defied all the odds back in the 2015-2016 Premier League season. They won the championship. Nobody saw that coming, certainly. Their shots were close to nothing, and they won it, so they were able to play in a Champions League, which is basically, top 4 from each, country league. It depends on country, but top 4 from England would go to a Champions League to play against the best in Europe. And so they got to do that. Well, with this, you're basically taking that away from smaller teams and smaller clubs in these countries. It's just not fair. It's not fair to the fans, and it's not fair to the players. It's football over in Europe. It's been around for over 100 years. A lot of these clubs were built by workers. And it would just have been a shame to see this league come to fruition. And thankfully, protests by the fans, mainly Monday and Tuesday, came with the announcement Tuesday that teams in England, Chelsea and City first, would pull out of this European Super League. Then that was followed by the rest of the 4, Arsenal, Spurs, United, and Liverpool. And, it just shows the power the fans have over there. And it's great to see, great to hear. And hopefully this doesn't happen. Obviously, the talks have been there. I'm sure it will continue to be there. But as of the moment, the fans seem to have won this battle.
Yes, won the battle, but have they won the war? U.S. history taught me that lesson. But anyways, you have some pros. Of course, it's mostly a con-filled list, as you mentioned, Nate. Of course, every week there's that kind of marquee matchup. But again, there's no underdog story. There's not that no pyramid structures. What I also saw looking at it, there's no excitement. It seems like the excitement is drained out for the money factor, and that's just not good in any sport. Especially this one, especially in soccer, one of, if not the most, looking at statistics, popular sports across the world. If you lose the fans, you lose the game, and I think that would exactly happen if this league would come to fruition sometime in the future.
Yeah, and that's a great point you make. Money played a big role in the formation of this league, obviously. COVID pandemic didn't help these teams at all. A lot of these big clubs like Liverpool, United, Real Madrid, they all lost money, tons of money. And this would have been financed by JP Morgan. Teams, these founding members would have gotten billions of dollars to boost their club. And that's not fair because, the money is not going to trickle down to the smaller clubs who need it as well. They need it even more than these big clubs at the moment. So it's just, that's a very big downside to it. There would be no pyramid structure. As you mentioned, the money wouldn't trickle down to the smaller teams and the smaller leagues in each country. And it would really destroy, the soccer that people have known and loved in these countries, for 100 years. And it would just have been a shame to see it happen. And thankfully, as of right now, it seems that it's not going to happen. Hopefully that's the case. But I feel as long as the fans keep fighting and putting their word in, this won't happen. And by no means is the current format of Champions League perfect. But, they have to negotiate. They have to figure it out. Because this European Super League, breakaway league, whatever you want to call it, is just not the right solution. It's not what football needs.
That should wrap things up for today's episode of the Lunch Hour Sports Podcast. As always, thank you so much for listening. You can find future episodes and streams here on the Lunch Hour Sports Podcast. Subscribe, like, comment. Thank you all for listening.